one of the things I notice when I work with clients is that they have a mindset that is oftentimes negative or at least limiting. And that got me interested in imposter syndrome, which is, which we had an episode on it with Carolyn Huggins, I think here's pronounced her name. And I got real interested in that because I see it everywhere. And in the course of doing that, I started talking with people about that. And they said, I think I was Googling it and I saw a Caterpillar, like the yellow machinery Caterpillar, had a webinar on the mental health crisis in the construction trades. And they said it's number one of occupations, it's number one suicide rate. And I thought, what the heck? So I reached out to several people on there. Matter of fact, I've been looking a long time. So thank you very much, Greg, to find an authority. I'm going to refer to you as an authority who can speak on this topic, because as I've brought it up with clients and people over coffee, they go, yeah. And so evidently it's awareness as a topic is spreading rapidly. And so I've been looking for a long time before we found you, Greg, so thank you. But it was shocking to me, and I have lots of questions about it. So I don't know how so we're talking about mental health, and in particular suicide, and the kind of questions that pop in my mind: is it growing? Has it always been this way, but we just identified it? Why is it growing? What can we do about it? How can you recognize it? How do you know it's not just an attitude behavior? How does management have to change? So I can ask all those things again, but I bet you can answer them all just by.
Well, I can, and when we begin to think about this, this really boils down to a couple of things. This is who's wearing the hard hats, but this is what it's about in America today, and why mental health matters. We've done everything you could possibly imagine, and there will be other great leaps when it comes to protecting the safety of our employees. The leaps that we've made from the 70s through the 80s, 90s, and even into the 2000s, just in the types of PPE that they use on a job site, going from plastic hard hats to carbon fiber helmets now, to yo-yos on safety belts. I mean, we've done great things in that space, but one thing we've just not done well in our industry is look at who's wearing the PPE, who's under the hard hat, who's standing in the boots. And when I begin to think about this, as you asked a second ago, the question, it's from the C-suite to the concrete. It really is from the corner office all the way down to the young person or the seasoned person or second career person or veteran that is out there doing the work, turning the wrench, pounding the nails, digging the ditches, pouring the concrete, whatever that may be. And it's not missing anybody in between there. We're seeing suicide in America today is a societal issue, okay? But in our industry, long about 2018, some data, as I would say, from being a good Southern boy, and I know an Oklahoma person would understand this, but data started to prairie dog up there that said, wait a minute, in 2018, there were 1,008 fatalities. That's 1008, 1,008 fatalities on construction projects across America. But that same year, there were 5,242 deaths by suicide of those that worked in the construction industry. Listen, and I say all this from the backstory of a moment ago that I grew up in the industry, right? Which is the only career I've ever known. But I somehow just kind of nodded to it. I just didn't acknowledge it, and I don't want to give the impression that these things are happening on job sites. Most of these men and women that die by suicide, this occurs in an environment where they have access to lethal means. And this reality boils down to shocking me to a point where I started to look around for others, and that's where we started up CFMA, the Construction Financial Management Group, or Management Association, began a look at the impact financially, if you would, of medical-related incidents on construction companies, suicide being one of those. And through a network, I made connections with the leadership of PFMA and several others. And we decided to do something about it. I said, listen, we are going to raise a red flag. We're not going to give up. We're going to go after this thing hard and harder than heavy. And that's when we started the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention. The average person every day deals with, and I want to clarify for the audience that's listening here, I am not talking about the bipolar schizophrenia here. I'm talking about depression, anxiety, those things that we deal with every day in our day-to-day walk. That impact on people missing days from work has a financial impact on a company. And that's what began as a genesis, is why this is a big issue. But now it's just blown up into something that we say we've really got a challenge. So when that data came out from CDC and that construction was put at the top of the list for suicides in America today as far as an occupation, is when we said, I like to build a lot of lists, great careers, good wages, all of these things, but I don't want to be on a list that says more people die by suicide in your industry than any other industry out there. That's not a good list to be on.